All right.
Thank God.
I think we nailed that. Let's move on with some news, some reactions to the news. A lot of interesting industry news. Not like a lot of exciting video game news, like games coming out or like what's going to be in games, but industry news was just kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I want to start with the Steam ban, if you would. So Steam has said they're banning so when you go on like a Steam page for a video game, there's a bunch of pictures and videos.
Yeah.
And in the past, some of those pictures might have either been doctored, which was a real grave thing to do, not a very good idea, or just art to sort of advertise. It's just art, right?
Yeah.
Game art, not necessarily in-game, just art itself.
Yeah.
But people have
like concept art and stuff
right.
like that. Yeah.
Not even concept, just art, like showing like some kind of a sketch of a character as opposed to an actual in-game scene.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And but some of the stuff, I don't think it was necessarily meant to be misleading, but it's getting out of hand where the art will sometimes be incredible, and then when you actually finally see what's in the game,
it's 8-bit.
It's 8-bit or something like that. It's not very good. Not that
wasn't that what was going on back in like the 90s and 80s? Like,
right.
Cover art was great. Then you play the game, it's like, what the?
Yeah. Or every once in a while, the reverse would happen. The cover art would just be so awful. Like Mega Man 1 has
my gosh.
literally my 9-year-old daughter could have done better than that Mega Man 1 artist.
Oh, man.
Anyway, so Steam is banning any kind of concept art, any kind of non-in-game art, especially any kind of doctored in-game scenes. You can only show the game itself.
Yeah.
Was this a huge problem?
Well, it was enough to probably get Valve's attention, right?
I
like
guess.
people complained
No Man's
enough.
Sky, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been the kind of person who if graphics are going to matter to me, I want to see it in video.
Right.
You know, I've never.
I always just assumed art would be art.
Right.
Yeah.
But I guess it was becoming problem enough. I mean,
doctored screenshots are one thing, but artwork is just artwork.
Yeah. I think sometimes what was happening is some like without having this very strict code down, people were allowing to like put forth what looked like a screenshot, but was actually very doctored, and then they say, "Well, that's art. It's supposed to give you an idea of the game." It's like, well, but you're kind of presenting it as if it's the game.
Gotcha.
And so without having like an actual rule down in place, like the loopholes were too easy. So I can understand that.
So
problem.
Steam is trying to protect the consumer then at this point with this rule.
Yeah.
And
I appreciate Steam caring. What I need Steam to do next is to
release Half-Life 3.
Oh, yes, yes.
Portal 3 as well.
No, I wish they would have some kind of sort of special page where it was a little bit more. What's the word when it's catered? It's a what's the word I'm looking for? Where anyways, things get highlighted, maybe based on vote or whatever, where it was a little bit easier to see the good from the trash, because Steam releases so much nowadays.
Yeah,
it's really hard to know what to invest in. Right?
Exactly.
And the big media outlets aren't always helpful in this regard because they're so consumed with the AAA games. They don't often focus enough on telling us like what are the really strong indies.
About Farm Simulator 17.
Yeah, I don't know why that's so big, but it's huge. Maybe the biggest game I
Truck
refuse
Simulator
to play
as well.
Let's go with some Blizzard news.
I wanted to talk a little bit more about that. I wanted to say
that you love me.
Well, besides
I love you
that,
too, Jose. Hold my hand.
Anyways, I want to talk about.
You got the pat.
Got the pat, man. I feel so rejected. Just gonna go home to my wife and family.
Anyways, I think that for some of us that we like to kind of see the art behind the game. I think that's going to be an issue for us consumers that really kind of want to see the concept art and kind of what they're going with, because it kind of gives you an idea of like their dedication as well. I can see the problem with doctored screenshots being an issue, and I wouldn't want that as well. Right. But are they going to be banning like concept art as well and stuff like that, or no?
Yeah, as far as like the store page goes, because like Steam isn't a collection of web pages where people can kind of do what they want. They're store pages. It's a storefront. Yeah. It's not like they have like so like that kind of art you're looking for. I mean,
You'd have
theoretically,
to go to a website, right?
theoretically, you go to the video games website
Yeah.
where that stuff will be. And 4 out of 5 games probably have a website.
Or a
Okay.
Facebook page.
Right, or Facebook page. Yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So let's talk about that Blizzard news.
Yes.
You had some of this news ready for us, Jose, so we're going to let you take over.
Yeah, I mean, BlizzCon happened this weekend. I think it's finishing up, or finished up, actually. It was 2 days, yeah. So it finished up yesterday, and there was a couple of big announcements. Well,
Yesterday
not
when
big,
we were
but-
recording, not when you're listening, by the way.
Yeah,
or watching.
exactly. So it ended on November 5th, okay? And there was a couple of announcements that came out of BlizzCon for a couple of their games. The biggest one, I think, would be the announcement of Sombra, a character in Overwatch. And
People have been waiting for that Sombra.
and if you've kind of followed along with
Can't
what
wait
was
for
going
the
on with that,
Sombra Yowie. Sorry, go ahead.
and if you followed along, I mean, the community itself was kind of discovering hints of this character named Sombra, right, or Sombra in Spanish. And she was kind of like a hacker, a computer hacker, and now she was revealed. So a lot of people are pretty excited about this character coming to Overwatch. So that's one of the main, biggest, I guess, news for that. Another thing was that they announced a new class for Diablo 3 that's coming out next year. A necromancer, yeah. And so they're bringing that up for...
I hear that's a
new
continuation of like a class from Diablo 1 or 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I never played 1 or 2, but...
I'm not a Diablo fan.
So I couldn't speak on that. I mean, I have played Diablo 3, and I mean, I love that game. It's great.
Seems like the biggest disappointment was right before BlizzCon happened, I was seeing different outlets hint at, will we get Diablo 4? No, you're just going to get a character class.
Yeah, I mean, well, they're also bringing in a couple more things. I can't really remember on the top of my head, and I didn't write it
Nothing
down.
good then.
And then...
They had some news I can't remember.
Dang it, James, you made me forget what I was going to say next. On top of that, they were also going to bring...
That's right. That's right.
Oh, man. Anyway, so let's move along. The next thing was WoW, World of Warcraft, right? For those of you that still play it, they announced 7.2 patch, which is going to be the return to Sargeras, or the Temple of Sargeras, I mean. So you're going to be able to fight Sargeras, I think. It's going to be a 9 boss raid within the game. And they are also kind of making a few changes. I mean, I don't know. To me, that's kind of big news, especially given the fact that patch 7.1, which was the mythic introduction of Return to Karazhan, they kind of are building up a lot of content, which they got a lot of criticism over, especially like the last couple of patches where they really weren't releasing a lot of content in between each expansion, right? So it's good to see that they're actually releasing more content this time around, and hopefully they keep that up. So that's kind of a big news for any WoW player, and I'm pretty excited about that. And then the Hearthstone game, they're getting a new expansion pack, which is the Mean Streets of Gadgetzan, I think, something like that. So it's going to be like a Goblin kind of package or expansion pack, so that's going to be focused on that. And then I mean, I think that's kind of it. Oh yeah, this is what I was going to also talk about. Diablo 3.
Forget it.
Seasons, if you play on the PC Diablo 3, you get to experience a couple of seasons where you get to create a character and try to do certain things within that season, right? And you get certain gear during that season. And it wasn't available for the console games.
It's
so
like
now,
the Rocket League thing, basically. Rocket League goes through seasons.
Exactly, yeah. And so they're bringing that to the console. So if you have a PS4 or Xbox version of Diablo 3, you will be getting that season experience as well. I think it's coming next year.
I'm not sure if I hate or love the season idea.
I like it. I played the season on Diablo 3. It's pretty fun because
on the
you
one
get
hand,
the gear.
if like it's a game you play every day anyway, that's probably a good thing. They could like mix it up. Yeah. On the one hand, like what happens when like with Rocket League, there'll be times where like, oh, I want to play that mode. Oh, season's done. That mode's gone.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you know.
But you get to keep the gear that you get during that season, which is really cool. And
so you can just show off how much of a dedicated player you are.
How much time you wasted on that game, yeah.
Hate the game, not the player, I guess.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. But yeah, that's kind of the news that I wanted to talk about for BlizzCon. So if I missed anything that you guys thought was important, I'm sorry. I just,
he's not a hardcore Blizz guy like you.
Gosh, I love Blizzard games.
Okay, next story, Chris. We're going to talk about Phil Spencer, he has
Good old
decided he's quoted as saying that there will not be a new Xbox every 2 years. So when Scorpio was first sort of publicly announced, or admitted to at least, I'm not sure if it was heavily implied or straight up said, but they kind of talked about how video game consoles could become iterative like Apple and cell phone products, right?
Yeah, they kind of give that example, right? Like, Apple comes out with a new phone every so often, right? So
Right.
we want to kind of do that or some shit like that.
Yeah,
Or
and so
something like that.
Yeah, and so they were wanting to be iterative now, where it's just not going to be Xbox, and there will be the 2016 Xbox and the 2018 or whatever. And
Xbox Plus S.
right, it has a better
Yes.
camera.
Yeah.
4K gaming, here we come.
Yeah, and that some people thought that was a good idea. I didn't really like that idea. I like generations personally. I like big leaps, and then I like being able to sort of realize, okay, I dropped my $400 or $500 right now, and this is going to get me 4 or 5 years of gameplay.
Yeah.
And that games will be, specifically designed for the system. But some people were excited. I don't want to say that there's a right or wrong on this. It was just kind of what is your priority.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm reading IGN.com here. They have a quote from Phil Spencer where they seem to be backtracking on that. In fact, excuse me, IGN's just quoting from Game Informer. So let's give the real credit to Game Informer. He says, I don't have this desire to every 2 years have a console on the shelf, he explained to Game Informer. That's not part of the console business model, and it doesn't actually help us. The best customer I have is somebody who buys the original Xbox and just buys all the games. That's the best customer for us in terms of pure financials of it. I'm not trying to turn consoles into the graphics card market.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like they're rewinding this whole iterative thing, that they're going back to thinking in terms of a generation. I'm curious if they're thinking of Scorpio as a 0.5 generation or as a new generation, because for the Xbox it is a leap. It's a leap 4 times the power.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about what the Scorpio is going to mean in the long run for them.
I mean, I think
The
it
PS4
would be.
Pro is definitely not a leap. It's it's only about twice the power of the other PS4, and it's obviously iterative. It's obviously just a 0.5 model.
Yeah.
But Scorpio, it could go either way.
Yeah, I think it might be. Hopefully, they do a new generation with the Scorpio,
Xbox
right?
2.
Xbox One 2. So, anyways, I hope
Xbox
they do a new generation jump with that one, and not kind of make it a 0.5 or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we kind of have hit that 4 or 5 year period. I mean, there hasn't been any great games that kind of make you feel like, okay, we are in the new generation besides Witcher and stuff like that, right? But there really hasn't been that feel of, okay, we've entered into the next generation, because there's so many remakes and stuff like that I just feel like it's not really there. So I kind of hope they do go into that next generation, and then that attracts new game developing companies that kind of try and branch out a little bit and try something new with the new power that the Xbox is giving them. So hopefully that kind of goes in that route.
Okay. Hey, Chris, you had some news for us.
About?
I can't remember.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did.
No.
Well, we can talk
It's
about.
just a rumor. I don't want to spread rumors.
Well, yeah, it's just a rumor. That's fine. Let's talk about it as a rumor.
There's a rumor going around Reddit that Crytek is out of money.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I think I've heard something like this before.
Yeah, and that's why I don't want to say too much about it, because this has gone around before and turned out they were more or less fine.
Oh, yeah?
And they've survived.
Okay, well, I mean, the rumor is, and take it with a grain of salt, like we're not being dishonest here. We're not saying it's like facts. We're just saying it's the word on that
On the internet.
that many of their employees haven't been paid in quite a few months, and that they're in kind of a weird place. I don't think Crytek has had like a real serious release in a little while.
Yeah, I'm struggling to think of. I mean, besides Star Citizen, but that's not out yet.
Well, Star Citizen isn't theirs. They're just licensing the engine.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think it seems like they haven't had a big video game release. I mean, obviously they make some money on the back end by producing game engines that have to be licensed.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure that's helpful. But even then, their game engine, as far as like the life of engines goes, it's getting kind of long in the tooth, right?
A little bit, yeah.
So I'm curious. And the last big release was it Crysis 3?
It's the last thing that comes to mind. There might be something more, but
yeah. Because I mean, if they had another game, it'd have Cry in the name.
Well, that would suck for just the people that work for the company. I mean, not
Yeah.
getting paid for so long. I mean,
Every once in a while,
would
I think to
suck.
myself, I want to be in the games industry, and then I realize, no,
It's an
no.
awful, awful place.
Yeah, it's
so hopefully it's not true. Hopefully the people are not hurting in that way.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You know what? Let's do the opposite. Send some love to if you like Crytek, send them some love. Tell them that they're awesome people, that they make great video game engines, and that you want to know about their next game.
They have a new one, Robinson the Journey. First-person sci-fi adventure game developed by Crytek exclusively for PlayStation VR.
Nice.
They're
That
betting heavy on that.
that sounds bad, and I mean a PlayStation VR exclusive.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound.
That's
Well,
a dangerous bet,
Yeah,
business-wise.
yeah.
Well, they have a lot of gamers in the PS4 market. So
I wonder if Crysis 3 just
hopefully.
didn't sell any.
I
Because
thought
it seems
sold
like
pretty
that was
well. It a big
popular.
game.
Yeah. Like people like those Crysis games. I think I didn't play through it. I played only the first couple hours.
And then
Yeah.
Son of Rome, remember Rise, Son of Rome? That was like the first game on
Oh,
Xbox
that's
One.
right.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was them, huh? Okay.
and then it came out on PC, right?
People
on
liked
Steam.
that game. They said like it was a really solid launch game.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
if it was a game that came out like 3 years into the life of a console, probably wouldn't have done as well. But it
Yeah.
was a totally solid
So
launch
yeah,
game.
here's
Yeah.
to hoping the rumors aren't true, and best of luck to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely. Best of luck, guys. Best of
Let's
luck.
move on. Bethesda
Uh-huh.
has kind of come in the news that they have publicly announced that
Oh yeah.
they're not going to do review copies anymore. They're not, meaning video game outlets, news outlets can still review games, but they have to wait till they come out on the market, usually the day of or the day before it releases.
And review with everybody that's playing it. Right?
Yeah, and and the complaint from websites like GameSpot, IGN, Kotaku is that that doesn't give them the lead time they need to do a good job of reviewing, so
Mhm.
they can get it out there while it will still garner clicks and views, which is what their business model is on. Like,
Mhm.
Right, this is going to allow YouTubers to destroy the game reporting industry.
yeah,
And
So
I
here's
mean,
hoping.
and I was listening
It's
to
good for
two podcasts, right? PC Gamer and Game Informer, and both of them had concerns that now the gaming or the review industry, the news industry, is going to try and be the first ones to kind of give a review, and that they have a worry that this is going to make them put more pressure on them to review the game a lot quicker, so they're not going to give a thorough review like they would when they get a copy ahead of time, right?
Especially
So-
with the Bethesda game. Think
Oh,
how many
yeah.
hours you could put into a Bethesda game.
Oh my gosh!
yeah.
Yeah,
I, mean, I have a feeling that this is in large part a reaction to Fallout 4. Fallout 4 was not critically loved. Like in the preview cycle, everybody was super excited for it, but when it came down to reviewing it, it got like middling, like and good but not great reviews, like a lot of 8s and 7s, and and I think and the sales of Fallout 4 seemed to be hurt by that. That like it lost a lot of interest very quickly, probably due to the reviewers.
yeah.
And so the next game they released was Doom, which they didn't let anybody review ahead of time, and then it sold very well. It probably would have reviewed well too, but no matter, it sold well without needing all that reviewing.
And that isn't that their excuse as well, that we
Right.
released Doom without giving ahead of time,
Right.
or the
Well,
review
and-
copy out.
And they're Bethesda, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
if they don't. If I was like, hey guys, I started a game studio and I'm not giving out review copies, like, no one will care.
Yeah. Now the people who say that this is like anti-consumer, I disagree with that. I agree with Colin Moriarty of Kinda Funny that this is a neutral point to the consumers. That it's neither good nor bad for the consumers. If you want a review of a game before you purchase it, then don't pre-buy it. Wait for the review and read a review before you buy it.
Well, I think that's great, but what if all the reviewers are trying to be the first ones out there and they give, kind of a shallow review instead of a deeper review?
That's not. But that's the problem for the media outlets. That's what they're doing.
But that also affects the people that, like me,
But it's not.
would
It's
like to
but
wait
it's
for the
not
review.
Bethesda's job or concern or moral or moral bait. Like it's not on them to make sure the media does a good job of their job.
Well, plus we have so many options now. You can watch Twitch and watch
Right.
someone actually playing it. Make
Right.
your
Yeah.
own review, kind of in your own head.
Exactly.
But here's where I do agree with the review sites is that Bethesda still wants them for previews. right? It still wants them for the preview cycle. And the idea is it's kind of like having your cake and eat it too. So like you need us for previews, but now you're going to screw us when it's review time. But our bread and butter is both. If review sites were smart, what they would do is they would sort of come together and respond and sort of put a no to preview cycles to anybody who's not going to help them when review comes.
Yeah, I could totally see that. Yeah.
But of course, that's dangerous gaming. It's a dangerous game to play. Like that sort of.
Especially when game journalists aren't exactly always the most popular people on the web.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of like to wait for the reviews myself and kind of see what they have to talk about it. Obviously, you got to go into it knowing that that is their opinion. Yeah. And take it with a grain of salt, right? But yeah, that's just kind of me. I like to wait for the reviews before I actually buy it, unless it's something that I really am excited for. For example, Civilization. I know for a fact that I'm going to buy the game, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that's
what
how I feel about almost everything Bethesda makes.
True, but
I'll buy the next Elder Scrolls no matter what the reviews say. I mean, I'll be like 45 by then, but.
Damn, you're old, dude.
No way, that's how long it's going to be until Elder Scrolls 6.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, they say they don't have the engine for it, right? So, yeah, definitely.
Stop sending me stuff.
And then, go ahead.
So lastly, we're going to talk about, do we have any more news?
Yeah, we do.
We're like 35 minutes in.
Well, okay. What's your last piece of news? Be fast.
The last piece of news is the SAG-AFTRA strike. SAG-AFTRA, if you don't know, is the actors and pretty much the voices for the video game industry. Yeah. And they represent about 25% of the artists in that. And they kind of are striking against some of the video companies that are kind of hiring these people, right?
Right.
So what they did, the video companies, they put up their own website to kind of put out their point of view on what they tried to negotiate and what the SAG-AFTRA tried to not come to agreement with, right?
I think most of what the SAG union wants is fair. The only thing I personally disagree with, and obviously I don't have, this isn't my profession, so who am I to talk about, but I get to have an opinion as a human being. Mm-hmm. And I don't see why they need royalties. Overall, I'm not a big fan of demands for royalties because, the idea is, it's going to continue to make money after it's released. But the whole point of being a publisher is that you put forth tons of money and pay a lot of people to do their jobs. And what your hopes are is that A, you get your money back, and B, you make more money than that. And that's the risk you run.
Yeah.
Royalties are saying we want the benefit of more money being made, but without the risk of putting any money forward like you, the publisher, had to.
Well,
and that's where I'm not a big fan of the idea of royalties in a situation like this, where there's a publisher who's basically living on where that royalties comes from. That it's asking for the reward without any of the risk.
Yeah. Well, on the article I read from PC Gamer, it didn't really specify the royalties part of it. It did talk about that the union was asking for like a 3% increase in the wages, right?
And they offered them 9%.
No, that's what. Yeah, they offered them 9%. The gaming company or industries kind of put this on the website, and they kind of everything that the union was saying. Here are the companies kind of refuting that with their own website. And so then the union asked the companies to take down that website because they're trying to kind of undermine what they're trying to do or their narrative, right? So I thought that was an interesting kind of dialogue that's going on between both of them, and you can kind of see both sides of it. And
union battles are always messy.
Yeah, so I thought that was an interesting thing because, in a way, it kind of affects video games for us. I mean, not a lot because they only represent 25% of the artists in the video game industry. So there is that aspect of it as well. So yeah,
okay,
so there you go.
I know we're running long, but we're gonna just keep going, Chris. We're gonna keep doing this. So what we didn't do last week because we ended up not recording last week, but we would have done is games with gold versus PS Plus.
Okay.
And we're not going to analyze this too much, but on the PS Plus side, you're getting Everybody's Gone to the Rapture on PS4. That's actually a pretty legit
nice
game to get for free-ish.
Yeah.
I mean, you pay a yearly subscription, but still.
True.
Also, Deadly Towers of Monsters, Letter Quest Remastered, Pumped BMX Plus, Dirt 3, and Costume Quest 2. There's a few good ones in there and a couple of trash games.
Nice. Costume Quest is fun.
Yeah, for a combined retail value of $89.94.
Nice.
Now, games with gold, you get Super Dungeon Bros. I don't know much about that. You'd have to tell me.
Don't know either.
Murdered Soul Suspect. I heard that was a pretty decent game.
Mm-hmm.
Monkey Island Special Edition. Some people like Monkey Island. That goes back to the not Warren
Sega,
Spector.
Right? Oh, sorry.
But it's like a LucasArts style game. It's
okay.
Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon is free. It's also going to be free on PC this month. So,
Nice.
Awesome. And that's for a combined value of $64.96.
Awesome. Go Xbox.
And just
I will support them either way.
so let's talk about upcoming releases. We're not going to cover a bunch.
I didn't bring
Plus
that
a
up.
lot of them already come out. But look out for Dishonored 2 on November 10th. That's definitely like a big game. Also, the Assassin's Creed Ezio collection is November 15th, and Gran Turismo Sport for you PlayStation players, and Watch Dogs 2 on November 15th. And I think that's all the ones I want to mention. The other ones are a little bit farther out. Anything you guys know about that you want to make sure you mention?
Let me double check.
By the way, that's what I sent you, Chris.
Yeah. Beholder looks kind of interesting on the PC.
Okay.
So
Cool.
keep an eye out for that.
That's
it for me.
Okay. Well, you know what?
I got Dishonored 2 for the Xbox One, November 10th. So this one looks pretty interesting. Marvel Pinball Epic Collection Volume 1.
There's a game I won't play.
Final Fantasy 15, November 29th.
Yeah, that's far
That's
out.
gonna be fun.
though.
Yeah, that's true.
I usually only go a couple of weeks out.
Star Wars Battlefront Ultimate Edition, November 18, and then Watch Dogs on the 15th of this month. So that's going to be interesting.
Okay.
Cool.
Well, if you liked this video, please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and find our Twitters and Twitch handles on the description, and find us on Facebook. And if you want to send us any mail, you can send us to fndwgameclub@gmail.com. And have a great day.
Bye.